Okay, so Nadav Ziv from Israel, from Earth Biochar, and I would like to share things that we are doing currently. And I have a lot to share and few minutes to not enough, so I will just start. But before that, our product is from sewage sludge mostly. And at the beginning of the day, Professor Claudia said that the biochar industry, the wood biochar industry, is it's underdog. So I thought to myself, imagine what we should feel. I will show you that we feel quite good. So it goes with this one. So first of all, I will show you where I work. This is a bird's eye view of our recycling park. Earth Biochar belongs to 4 companies which belongs to the same recycling park. This is our recycling park. It's the biggest recycling park for organic waste in Israel. We get annually about 350,000 tons of sewage sludge, and in addition, another 250,000 tons of wood green waste from municipalities. Both of them are mixed together in this composting windrows. So it goes first phase of composting. This is done by compost ore. Another company, Fertilo, uses this compost as a base material to produce organic mineral pellets in a slow release. This compost is marketed all around Israel to farmers. And another company, Ecologs, uses only clean wood, and they make 2 kinds of wood pellets, one for heating, as you, I guess, know, but also a special kind of wood pellets for bedding, as a bedding material for chicken coops, for broilers. And now us, Earth Biochar, in this corner is our machine, our pyrolysis machine. I will show you later. Over here is our research and development greenhouse. We grow all years, even though that the summer is very hard in our place. It's 45 Celsius degrees average all day for the whole season. And we grow in this in this greenhouse all kinds of vegetables, tomatoes, peppers, all kinds of leaves, pineapples, melons, eggplants, and we test our materials. Our first material is the CompoChar, and we compare it to other soilless culture media. So this is where I work. Over here, I show you where I live. This is Kibbutz Almog, and I try to locate my home. It's about below the arrow. And my village is in the Judea desert, 10 minutes from the Dead Sea. And it is a very arid area. We get very low amounts of rain during winter time. And still, this is one of the fields of my kibbutz. We can still grow, this is watermelons. So the reason that we can grow watermelons in the desert, that we use water from the sewage system. It goes treatment, of course, but from the 60s in Israel, the water authorities kept a very good separation between the municipal sewage system and the industrial sewage system. So when we take the water from the municipal sewage system, it is quite clean from all kinds of pollutants, okay? So over the years, we can see an increase of the use of the water and also the sludge. So according of today, almost 100% of the sewage sludge in Israel goes as fertilizer to agriculture in Israel, and also the water. And about 50% of the Israeli sludge comes to our factory. We deal with a lot of shit. So this is the corner that I showed, and this was our first pyrolysis machine. It was custom designed and made for us by Earth Systems for Melbourne, Australia. It is a continuous machine which allowed us to control the temperature of the pyrolysis and also the residence times. And there was a guy from Biomacon earlier that asked about rust and how the material survived these temperatures. So after 2.5 years, I only have few engines and fans. The rest of the machine is in the garbage. So, but this machine allowed us to get two very important milestones. The first one, that it gives us the ability to find the right conditions to make our first product, which is the CompoChar. And very important, the second milestone is that with this machine, we have done a very thorough and long process with the Israeli EPA and the Health Ministry and the Agriculture Ministry. And now we have an official permission from the Israeli EPA that our sludge biochar is no longer under the sewage sludge regulation in Israel. It allows us to use our material in many applications. It was like winning the lottery. You don't get a lot of good news from regulators in Israel, but it was really amazing. Here I show you our new machine. I hope will last a little bit more than 2.5 years. This machine is going to start this November, industrial scale. It will produce about 2 tons of CompoChar per hour. So if you take one particle of CompoChar and you look under a magnification of semi-electron microscopy, this is what you are going to see, because what we do, we take the, is it me? No. We take the composted sewage sludge and we mix to it wood chips, and then we pyrolyze them together. And the pyrolysis process stick them together. And what you see here is the carbon structure from the wood and an envelope of minerals from the sludge. And what we think that this attachment, what makes the CompoChar works so well. What you usually do is co-composting, and now I am making it clear, this is co-pyrolyzing, okay? This is another 2 pictures from other samples. And we have decided, you have heard the presentation of Claudia, Professor Claudia, and you should know now that working in the soil is very complex. It is very hard to see a dramatic effect, okay? And we have experience working in the soil. We have seen negative results and we have seen some positive results. And we have decided, not only from these reasons, we have decided to work detached from soil. And the CompoChar is a soilless culture media. It was a marketing decision because everywhere you look, forecast of the horticulture industry, you see always the rise everywhere in the world. And with this rise, you see the rise in the demand for substrates. And peat is still the dominant substrate in the horticulture industry, and peat is being banned for many good reasons. And the industry, the horticulture industry, looks very seriously at alternatives to peat. And we think that the CompoChar can compete the peat. And when you start to develop a substrate, a soilless culture media, you need that this material will supply the plant everything that a good soil should supply. It can be the anchorage to the roots. It needs to have a reservoir of nutrients and water for a time window. And oxygen is very important nutrient for the plant, so it needs to have good drainage and aeration. And in this example, there is a schematic way how you control the water holding capacity versus the air porosity via controlling the particle size. And this is indeed the first characteristic that we dived into. And now I can say that the CompoChar has almost ideal water retention capacity. This is what resembles the balance between the water holding capacity and the drainage. And I can say that we can control this water retention curve via the ratio between the wood chips and the sludge that we introduced to the pyrolysis, and also by controlling the temperatures of the pyrolysis, of course. And as I said, we grow all kinds of vegetables and leaves in the CompoChar. We grow in 100% biochar, 100% CompoChar. And in this example of the lettuce, you can see that on average, lettuce that grow in the CompoChar are 75 grams or 15% bigger by weight than lettuce that grow in tooth. But size is not the only thing that is important. I am showing here the average and the median. This is a quick way to show that when we harvest the lettuce, we weight each lettuce. Okay, so when you see that the average and the median are almost identical, it means that the weight of the lettuce, the diversity is very small. It means that the material is very homogeneous, and it is very important. What I'm showing here in black is the same result of the CompoChar that I've shown now, and I compare it when we grow the lettuce in the compost. It's the same compost that we use to make the CompoChar, or compost mixed with wood biochar, okay? So the size is not matter over here. What matter here is the diversity. You look now and you can understand that something in the pyrolysis process makes these materials much more homogeneous. And for the farmer, it is more important to get that all the lettuces are around 350 grams or 400 grams. It doesn't matter if you get 700 gram lettuce and also 70 grams, because the 70 gram you can't sell. So you need very homogeneous material. 3 weeks ago, I participated in the first Swedish conference for sewage, for sludge biochar, okay? And I was amazed by how many groups from Europe were mainly concentrated in the phosphorus of the sludge. But the sludge has much more to offer than phosphorus. I'm sorry, but I forgot to put the nitrogen, but it has also all the NPK, the macronutrients, and it brings the plant even micronutrients. And it is important because we can grow vegetables without fertilization or with very minimal fertilization. And this is one thing. And the second thing is that, and most of these nutrients are available. We found them in the liquid phase, and even the micronutrients in certain times can be very important, like in this one, what you see here on the picture above, these ugly tomatoes. It's not a disease, it's a deficiency in calcium. And this deficiency in calcium is called blossom end rot because the tomato grows, it blows from the end. And if the plant doesn't have enough calcium, it starts to rot, okay? So you can get a lot of fruits, but if half of them are rotted, you cannot sell them. And what we have seen that by growing in the tuff is a lava stone, okay? It's very popular substrate in Israel. And when we compare it to the CompoChar, we see a lot of blossom end rot in the tuff, and we see much less in the CompoChar because the CompoChar has calcium built in. Another thing that you should keep in mind that because you are introducing a material that already has nutrients, so on the blue, this is the tuff. When we give more and more fertilization, we get more and more fruits. This is very logic, but we see the opposite with the CompoChar because there are interaction between outside or external fertilization with the nutrients that in the CompoChar. This is something that you need to know. This is how I look when I'm not in the conferences. And what I am showing here is peppers. Peppers suffer from blossom end rot as much as tomatoes. And what I show here is blossom end rot. The numbers were amazing in the tuff, and in the CompoChar, we didn't find even one blossom end rot in these peppers. So now I've finished with this deficiency. I'm going to talk about a disease. And over here, this is a healthy cucumber, and right next to it is a dead one. And what killed this cucumber is a fungi. It's a fungal soil disease named Fusarium. And we are working in the past 3 years on a cooperation grant with researchers from the Volcani Institute in Israel. You know who. And they have discovered a method to screen bacteria that inhibit the growth of this Fusarium. It is very simple. You take this Petri dish, they inoculate the fungi, the Fusarium on the sides, and they inoculate the bacteria in the middle. And they do a lot of Petri dish with a lot of bacteria that they screen. And if the fungi win, it takes the whole Petri dish. But if they see this kind of picture, so it means that the bacteria inhibit the growth of the fungi. So it is a good candidate. And candidate for what? The whole idea is to take this kind of bacteria and to grow them inside the biochar. So when the farmer buys the CompoChar, he has a material with induced resistance to this disease. This was the concept. So over here, what you see in the bottom red rectangular is plants that we have grown in soils that we injected the disease into the soil, right next to the roots in few points, okay? And above the green rectangular is the control group. They were grown without the disease. And we see here the disease incidence. Disease incidence, it means dead plants, okay? So the green arrows, they represent plants that were grown in a commercial peat-based substrate. So over here, you see almost 100% of dead plants. Even without inoculation of the disease, because the fusarium has spores and it spreads in the greenhouse, so it can take even plants that were not inoculated. The black arrows, they represent plants that were grown in 100% CompoChar, and the black and green arrows represent plants that were grown in 80% peat and 20% CompoChar. So even these small amounts of CompoChar into the peat were able to almost block the disease. The red arrows are the effect of the bacteria, which indeed was real. It also reduced the incidence of the disease, but not as much as the CompoChar. It was a complete surprise. We didn't expect it. The whole idea was to check how the bacteria inhibit this disease, and this is the yield of the cucumbers. So this is the peat-based cucumbers. Of course, a dead plant can give you fruits, and we can see that the fruits from the CompoChar group was a little bit more yield than the control group, and the best group was the mix of the peat with the CompoChar. We have heard that medical cannabis farm in Israel suffer greatly from the same fusarium, and then we started a new observation. We added this CompoChar into the regular perlite, the regular perlite that they grow in these bags. If you can see the green color, the orange color, this is the spores of the fusarium. So it's still on observation. Yesterday I got few results, but we haven't analyzed them, but it looks very promising. What I'm saying here, that if we indeed see a new function, it might lead us to produce it as a new product. So it won't be a growing material, it will be something that induces resistance to this disease. Okay, so this table shows, we were trying to get organic certificate, not for the sludge, this we will never get, but for the wood biochar. Okay, so we had wood chips from an almond orchard, and we sent them to the laboratory, and they have detected 13 herbicides and pesticides. And they told us, you will never get organic certificate with this amount of toxin. Otherwise, if your pyrolysis process breaks them down. And we also, of course, we send biochar from the same batch to the same laboratory, and they were not able to detect none of these 13 toxins after the pyrolysis, but they have found 3 new ones, okay? This is 3 molecules that they have found, which are fungicidal, okay? And because they have found these new molecules in the almond biochar, of course, they told us you cannot get the organic certificate. This was the bad news, but the good news is that we think that we have a good direction why the CompoChar can inhibit the growth of this fungi, because during the pyrolysis process, these three molecules are formed. You can find them in pyrolytic water, in wood vinegar, and you can find them in the biochar as well. Okay, so this is from the same sample that we've sent to Eurofins. We have checked also the heavy metals. So I told that we have quite clean sewerage system because it's not mixed with the industrial. So we indeed got very high zinc in this sample, but most of the heavy metals that we found in the sludge are quite low. I compare it to the EBC standard. And we are starting this November the industrial scale production. And in paraphrase to what Ford said, this is what I say to our customers: you can get our CompoChar in any color that you want, as long as it is black.
Thank you very much. Questions? Here.
Thank you very much for this really great presentation and good news. Only 3 questions. The first one, can you tell us the ratio between sewage sludge compost and wood chips before you bring it in the pyrolysis machine? Second one, temperature. The third one, residence time.
Oh, yeah, it's not a secret, okay? And the basic ratio that we use, but you need to understand we don't use sewage sludge, we use compost sludge, okay? And it is compost that we make in our factory with our machine, with our ratios of wood waste inside, and in the temperatures of the Jordan Valley, which is very high. So even if I tell you all the secrets, you will not be able to do it in Germany, I suppose. But I can share it. It's a 1-to-1 ratio on volume. Okay, so 1 bucket of compost and 1 bucket of wood chips. This is the basic ratio. But as I said before, if you want to change the water holding capacity and the aeration, you need to change a little bit the ratios, and you need to change the temperature. And the basic temperature that we work is 600 Celsius degrees, yes. And what was the last thing? The ratio. Residence time, you should have read it in the EPA permission. It shouldn't be less than 20 minutes, I think, but we do it about half an hour.
Yes, hello. Thank you also for the nice presentation. I have also 2 questions. First, Alexandra Brautach from Aachen University. I have 2 questions. First of all, the first process step, you said it's a compostation. On the picture, it looked like you basically just pour out the sewage sludge and let it rest for a while. Wouldn't it be more efficient maybe to also use the compostation step as also maybe a way to gain biogas or something instead of just leaving it out? I don't know if it's for drying purposes or what the actual compostation step is for. If you could just pyrolyze everything, I'm not sure about that. And then the second question is about the horticulture use. The soilless cultivation and horticulture, I think it's a seasonal business. So you wouldn't really have the carbon sequestration like you would have in agriculture because it's not used for a very long time, the soil. What do you do with the CompoChar after its use in the greenhouses? Could you reuse it again, or is it a waste material again?
Okay, so the first question was why composting these materials? Okay, so we are talking about a factory that gets every year more than 500,000 tons of materials. Okay, we don't have pyrolysis machines that can do these amounts yet, but the real reason is that I came to this recycling facility about 3.5 years ago, okay? And it was a composting facility. So I came to a composting facility. This is what they do. And the compost is very good product first. And it is not just pouring the sludge on the floor. They have developed a process that they are pouring the sludge on the floor, and then they are pouring wood chips on it, and then again the sludge, and they have very huge machine which goes and mix it and aerate it. And I'm sorry that I haven't put the video of the composting process, because you see a cloud goes out from the windrows, because the temperatures inside is about 60 to 70 Celsius degrees. It is accelerated aerobic composting. So it is a compost. It's not just laying there, okay? And it needs to be accelerated because every day 100 of trucks goes in and they need to go out with material. So the whole factory always replaces itself, okay? There is every window goes out on a certain date. And so I don't know if I answered it, but what we do at Earth Biochar, we take some of this material. We are going to take more and more, because our first machine is doing between 2 and 3 tons per hour, okay? And we think we are going to have about 6 of these. And so we will take a portion of this amount, but we will never succeed to take the whole of it, I guess so. And the other question was about how long can you use the CompoChar? So the CompoChar was evolved, or it was born only 2 years ago. So we don't have a lot of data what to do, but we use the same material for 2 years already, and it's still okay. And when you finish it, you can put it in the ground. It's not a waste. It's what I think that you are asking, because when you use peat or cocoa coir, this kind of materials, they degrade it very fast. And the CompoChar, half of it is minerals, half of it is biochar, so it should stay longer.
Questions from the online audience, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Nadav, for the very interesting talk. I have a couple of questions here from Andreas Hellmann. First, he wants to ask if he wonders if Israel is so rich on wood chips, and if you tried any alternative to wood chips and got good results. Furthermore, he's asking, I just read that out, is wastewater in Israel also conveyed to sewage treatment plants? Do they get the separated raw material from there? And are they located right next to such a treatment plant to realize the value creation? Do you have any ideas how to realize something like this in countries where there is no sewage system and central sewage treatment plants, for example, in many African countries?
I think I lost you on the second question, but we don't have wood chips so beautiful as the guy from the company that transport them across nation over here. We get waste wood from municipalities, from cities. People are throwing the refrigerator inside, and they are throwing the branches as well. But we separate. Every city has to send its wood waste to central places, which cleans out the refrigerator, and then they have to chip it, and then they have to do something with it. Okay, and then they don't have anything to do with it, so they send it to us. We don't pay for it, and we don't get money for it. We only get money from the sludge that we get. So we do treatment. So, but we get a lot of wood waste, and we clean it even more. We have a long line that puts out sand, metals, plastic, stones. So eventually we get only the wood. Okay, it's a lot of work to clean all these impurities to get only the wood. So this way we get a lot of wood. What was the second one?
The very long question was about the treatment of the sewage water. If you can imagine that something like this can be established in African countries where they do not have such a treatment system.
I don't know. It's very organized in Israel. To be economic, you need somebody to pay for you for the materials that you get. We are not doing it on a voluntary, it's a business. So some of the money we get from collecting the waste, and some of the money we get from selling new products. Africa is a big word, and it's a big land. So I don't know the situation in Africa in general. So I don't have any good answer.
In the middle.
Hi. Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. Konstantin Kreider is my name. I just wonder if you can use the heat you are producing in that power plant or biochar plant in this hot environment somehow. Is it possible, or do you use it?
At the moment, we don't. Okay, so it was always for me to decide what do I want to focus on, and I always wanted to focus on the biochar and not other results from this process. But on this new machine, we are going to use some of the heat to it will bring the heat and some of the off gases, so we can make activated charcoal. But that's it. We have enough heat in our area. We try to cool ourselves usually, not to heat.
Okay, are there any more questions? One more.
Yes, hello, and also from my side, thank you. Thomas Hoffmann from Biomacon. one question regarding the shit. How is it dried? Like, is it dried at the treatment facility? And just if you say a few words about that, would be nice.
The treatment facility brings it, they squeeze it, okay, the sludge, but still we get it with 80% water content. Yeah, so now what? The composting process is very efficient because it happens naturally. Of course, we have the machine that mixes and aerate it. The oxygen is always the bottleneck. So this facility works 24/7 all year, okay? And all year, these machines goes on these windrows, and it pulls out a cloud of steam when it goes through, because it is very hot inside. And when the machine aerates it, most of the water comes out. So I get it after it is composted with 25% water content.